All right, welcome to the Apex Performance Lab. This is your channel where we go over everything and anything related to training for the Apex Fitness competition. Now, this is a fairly new competition. I think they just held their 4th event, which was yesterday, which I competed in, which we will go over later on in this video. But what is the competition? There are 7 events. These 7 events are added together, your results, to give you a final score. This score then can be used to compare yourself to the other people in the competition, but also to compare yourself over time to see if your athleticism is improving or not. Now, which components of athleticism does it test? You have your Fast 40, which tests your speed. You have your reverse medicine ball toss, where you throw the ball behind you as far as you can. You have your broad jump and vertical jump, which all go into the power category. Then you have your strength, which consists of a 405-pound trap bar deadlift for as many reps as you can in 1 minute. Then you have your bench press, which is 225 pounds on the bar for as many reps as you can get before failing. Then you have your endurance category, which is a 1 mile all-out run. So these exercises are done back to back to back, and then your score is tallied up and the final standings are calculated. Now, I have been training for this competition since last December. So I did a 5-month training block from December to April, and then I did a mock competition on my own at the end of April to kind of get a baseline of where my numbers were at. Then I did another 3.5-month training block leading up to yesterday, which was my first in-person competition right here in Boston, Massachusetts. So in this video, I just want to go over how I did, and I want to compare to my results from back in April. And so I'll go event by event. You'll see right up here a little comparison of my scores. You'll also see up here some highlights of me competing. Yeah, just overall, super fun day. Great event put on by Tim Riley and the Apex crew. And so, yeah, just super stoked to have been a part of it. Feeling that adrenaline pump from competing, with some eyes on you and in a group of people. Just you can't replicate that in training. So super pumped to have been a part of it, and I will definitely be returning when they come back to Boston next year, or maybe even I'll do some traveling out to a different competition. All right, so going event by event here. Starting out with the Fast 40. Huge PR on this event. I was able to run a 462. All right, so that was on my second run. On my first run, I went 465, so I was already feeling good. Again, you get 2 attempts on the 40, the vertical jump, the broad jump, the med ball toss, and then you get 1 attempt on the deadlift, the bench, and the mile. So on my first attempt, I ran a 465. I'm feeling good. Second run, I go even faster, 462. Both massive improvements from that 475 I ran back in April. This put me in a great spot to start out the competition. I was feeling good. I was feeling confident. All right. The next event was the reverse medicine ball toss. This one did not go well. All right, back in April, I was able to throw 60-foot 3, which was a great throw. Yesterday, I was only able to do 54 feet 7. I think I just had not practiced the throwing motion enough over the course of the 3.5-month training block leading up to here. And so I think I just need to add in more throws leading up to the next competition to become more comfortable kind of with the load and explode out motion of that reverse medicine ball throw. Now, next up was the broad jump. I was feeling really confident going into the broad jump. So confident that on my second rep of my warm-ups, so this is before the competition even starts, I'm going through my normal warm-up routine. I normally would do about 6 to 8 warm-up broad jumps. All right. On my second rep, I jump a 9'2", 9'3", in that range, and that left me feeling so confident that I decided not to waste any more energy on the broad jump warm-ups and to move on with the rest of my warm-up. And I think in hindsight, that lack of practice and prep for the broad jump on the day of left me a little exposed, especially when it came to the first jump. And so what ended up happening was I faulted on my first jump. Now, luckily you have 2 jumps, but if you fault on both jumps, you get 0 points for that event, which, really puts you behind the 8 ball in terms of overall scoring. So I had to be conservative. I was only able to do 8 foot 7.5 on my second jump, which is a big dip down from the 9 foot 1 I did back in April. We'll take what I learned from that and we'll improve for the next time I'm out there. All right. So at this point, my confidence is a little shot. I started out with a great 40. I took a dip on the toss and the broad jump. But I had a big vertical. Back in April, I was able to do 30. Yesterday, big improvement on that to 32 and 2.5. That was, in fact, an extra, I believe, 4.5 inches from the highest jump I had even done in training. So big adrenaline boost. Had to come up with something big after 2 down events before that. And 32.5 was a fantastic result for the vert. All right, moving on to the pull. So when I tested this in April, I did 18 reps. All right. Again, if you watched my prediction video, I would have been happy with 20 reps on this. I was able to get 27. And this was a massive PR from my previous competition of best of 18. This really put me in a great spot in terms of overall scoring. But I think I got a lot stronger over the last 3 months. I really worked on my RDL, which I'll talk about in the future as being, I think, one of the key exercises for the pulling event in Apex. But again, 18 reps, improved to 27 yesterday, was absolutely hyped after that. All right. While I was hyped about my 27 reps, that takes a lot out of you. It probably took me 2 to 3 minutes just to stop seeing stars. I put an ice pack on my forehead, which helped me quite a bit. And so my next exercise or next event of the bench press, 225 for reps, went okay. I got 13 reps. When you compare that to my 16 back in April, it's a little bit of a step backwards. But in looking back at the training, I was doing a lot of AMRAP sets in my training block from December through April, and I took those out for too long leading up to this competition. So I put them back, about 5 weeks before the competition, but I just don't think that was enough time to build up the muscular endurance in my chest to get back to that 16 reps that I was able to do before. I'll talk about this too in the future. I didn't really think too much about like local muscular endurance. I kind of just thought, hey, you get stronger at the bench press and your max reps is going to go up. But I do think there is a pretty big component of endurance that you have to train in order to do your best on that event. All right. Final event is the mile. All right. So a time mile is hard to begin with. Now, doing a time mile after the 6 previous events is a lot harder. That being said, the mile is my strongest event. I'll have to go back and look at the standings. I think I was top 5 overall out of 80, 85 to 90 male competitors there. I kind of knew this going in. I knew endurance was a strong suit of mine. Back in April, I was able to run a 5:41. This event, I was more prepared in terms of nutrition and hydration leading up to the competition and during the competition, as well as my fitness had taken a slight step forward, and so I was able to run a 5:30. Yeah, this was a big result for me. This got me a lot of points in the overall standings, and you'll see in a moment how that kind of contributed to the final result. All right, so just a quick recap here. Massive PRs in the 40-yard dash, in the vertical jump, in the deadlift, and in the mile. All right, so I mean that's 4 of the 7 events, and that's really what led to the overall score moving from 590 to 633. I held my own in terms of the bench press. I took a major step back in terms of the toss and the broad, but that didn't bring my overall score down enough to not get me the improvement that I was looking for. A 633 versus a 590, that's a 43-point increase. I'm super excited for that. We'll dive deeper into, training, what went into training for this. The final result was 9th place overall. I'm not satisfied with that. I'm coming for the top 5 at some point next year. It's going to be a big off season of training. If you're someone who is interested in training for Apex or just wants to see some means and methods of training and preparing for this competition, be sure to stay tuned to this channel.